Evan Miles had never expected to meet a real alien princess. He was just a technician, assigned to maintain the systems aboard the diplomatic ship Artemis. He worked quietly, fixing engines, checking the communication lines, and making sure the ship ran smoothly. His job had nothing to do with politics, royalty, or intergalactic diplomacy. And yet, here he was, standing before Princess Lyra of the Veyari Empire. The chamber was unlike anything Evan had seen before. The walls shimmered in soft blue light, and the floor seemed to float slightly beneath his feet. Strange plants with glowing leaves grew along the edges of the room. At the center, Princess Lyra sat on a low seat, her long silver hair flowing like water over her shoulders. Her eyes were large, violet, and full of curiosity. She watched him quietly as he bowed. "You are Evan Miles?" she asked in a soft, musical voice. "Yes, Princess," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. He had met diplomats before, humans and aliens alike, but none had the calm power of a princess like Lyra. She didn't just command attention, she owned it. Lyra smiled, a small curve of her lips. "I have heard much about your kind, human. You are unusual." Evan felt a strange mix of pride and worry. He was not a hero or a nobleman. He was just a human who could fix things and follow instructions. "I only do my work," he said. She tilted her head. "Perhaps. But sometimes the simplest acts show the greatest courage." Evan felt confused. He had no idea what she meant, but before he could ask, she spoke again. She held something in her hands, a small, round metal object that glinted in the light. "What is that?" Evan asked, stepping closer. "It is a wedding band," Lyra said, her eyes never leaving his. "I found it during your human cultural exchange. You wear these when you promise to be with someone for life." Evan swallowed. He had read about human weddings, about rings and vows, but he had never expected to discuss them with a real alien princess. "Yes, that is correct," he said. Lyra's smile grew slightly. "And would you marry someone if asked?" Evan felt his heart skip a beat. He had never imagined such a question. He tried to answer carefully. "Princess, I cannot. I am not worthy. And I am not prepared for such responsibility." For a moment, the room was silent except for the soft hum of the ship. Evan felt his face grow hot. He had spoken softly, trying not to offend her, but he wondered if he had already ruined everything. Instead of showing anger, Lyra leaned back slightly, her smile remaining calm. "I see," she said. "You are honest. That is rare among those who serve my empire." Evan relaxed slightly, though he still felt nervous. "I only speak the truth," he said, "and the truth is sometimes stronger than courage," Lyra replied. Her voice was gentle but firm. "You do not belong to our world. You are human, with your own customs and fears. And yet, you do not flee from your fear. That is remarkable." Evan looked at her, unsure what to say. He had not expected praise. He had only expected anger or disappointment. "Princess, you may leave now," she said softly. "But know this, I have noticed you. That is no small thing." Evan bowed deeply. "Thank you, Princess." He turned and left the chamber, his mind racing. What did she mean? She had smiled, but he did not know if it was a smile of kindness, amusement, or something else entirely. For the next few days, Evan tried to focus on his work. He fixed engines, recalibrated sensors, and checked communication lines. But no matter what he did, he could not stop thinking about Princess Lyra. He wondered why she had asked about marriage. Why had she looked at him in that strange way? Other crew members noticed his distraction. "You're staring at the princess too much," said Harper, a fellow technician. "She is dangerous, Evan. Not in the sense of killing people, but she gets what she wants." Evan shook his head. "I am not thinking about what she wants. I am thinking about how she sees things differently, how she is. Honest about her intentions. Harper shrugged. Just don't get yourself into trouble. Humans don't usually survive in the politics of the Veyari Empire if they step too close to the princess. Evan nodded, but deep inside, he knew he could not avoid her. It seemed the princess had noticed him for a reason, and no amount of work could erase that. A week later, he was summoned again. This time, Lyra's chamber had been decorated for a quiet meeting. Light hung from the walls in soft, floating globes, and the air smelled faintly of sweet alien flowers. She was seated, waiting patiently, her hands folded in front of her. "Evan," she said, her voice soft but direct. "I want to speak with you about your answer." Evan bowed. "Princess, I already explained. I cannot wed you. I do not belong to your world." Lyra leaned forward slightly. "I did not ask if you belonged. I asked if you would consider it. There is a difference." He shook his head. "Even if I were willing, Princess, I cannot. My life is not ready for this. My family is far away. I am not noble. I am not—" "Evan," she interrupted gently. "Nobility is not what binds people together. Courage, honesty, and care, these are what matter. You have all of these qualities. That is why I asked you." Evan felt his chest tighten. He had never been praised in such a way, and it made him uncomfortable. I cannot," he said again. Lyra smiled, the same soft, mysterious smile from before. "Then I will wait. I will not force you. But know this, Evan. You are not invisible to me. And one day, you may see the truth I see." For a long moment, they sat in silence. Evan tried to find words, but he could not. He bowed again, this time with a strange sense of both relief and tension. "I will leave you, Princess," she nodded. "Go. But do not think that leaving me is the end. Sometimes, the end is only the beginning." As Evan stepped out into the corridor, he felt as if the air of the ship had shifted. Something about Princess Lyra unsettled him. He could not stop thinking about her words, her eyes, and her smile. For the first time in his life, he felt that being human was both a weakness and a gift. Over the next few days, he noticed small things. The crew whispered about the princess watching him during meals. Sometimes, he saw her silhouette on the observation deck, looking out into the stars. It seemed she was curious not only about humans but about him specifically. One evening, as he repaired a communications relay, he felt a presence behind him. Turning, he saw her standing quietly, her eyes reflecting the starfield outside. "You work hard, Evan," she said softly. "I like that. Humans are resilient." He swallowed nervously. "Thank you, Princess." She stepped closer. "Tell me, Evan, do humans always speak the truth, even when it is difficult?" I try to," he said. "It is not always easy." "And yet you did," she said. "Even when you could have lied to please me, you spoke the truth. That is why I cannot ignore you." Evan's heart raced. He wanted to say more, to explain his fear, but words failed him. "Princess, Lyra smiled, her eyes soft but shining with determination. "You do not need to answer now. Just remember, the stars are wide, but the truth is closer than you think." Evan nodded silently. She turned and left him in the corridor, the soft glow of the ship's lights following her as she disappeared. That night, Evan could not sleep. He stared out the window at the galaxy, thinking of the princess, her words, and her smile. He felt something stirring inside him, something he had never felt before. Fear, yes, but also wonder. He had refused her, and yet he could not escape her. Princess Lyra had made it clear that she had noticed him, and for the first time in his life, Evan realized that sometimes, refusing the impossible only drew it closer. The galaxy outside was silent. But inside Evan, a quiet storm had begun. A storm that would not end until he faced the truth about himself. about her, and about the bond that was already beginning to grow between a human and an alien princess. After their first meeting, Evan thought he could return to his simple life aboard the ship. He believed that his refusal had ended the matter, that Princess Lyra would soon forget about him and focus on her royal duties. He was wrong. From the very next day, Lyra seemed to appear wherever he went. During morning drills, she would walk along the edge of the training arena, watching him work. During meals, she asked about his favorite foods, his home on Earth, and even small things like what music humans liked. Her questions were endless, and Evan found himself stumbling over answers he never thought would matter. "Do humans always work this hard?" she asked one morning, as Evan tightened a panel in the ship's engine room. "I suppose some do, Princess," Evan said carefully. "It depends on what we care about." Lyra nodded, her eyes thoughtful. "It seems you care about this work. That is admirable." Evan felt a mix of pride and embarrassment. He was not used to compliments, especially from someone so powerful. "I just do my job," he said softly. "Doing your job is not small," Lyra replied. "It shows loyalty, skill, and honesty. You have these things naturally." For the first time, Evan felt a flicker of doubt about his own refusal. Maybe he had underestimated her understanding. Maybe she saw something in him that he had never noticed himself. Other crew members began to whisper. "The princess is paying attention to the human again," said Harper quietly, leaning against a wall in the engine room. "You should be careful, Evan. This is dangerous. Very few humans survive such attention." Evan shook his head. "I am not thinking about danger. I am thinking about how she sees the world differently, how she is honest with her feelings. That is rare." Harper frowned. "Rare doesn't matter when politics and power are involved. Remember that." But Evan could not stop thinking about her. He noticed the way her eyes followed him, the way she smiled when he said something truthful, and the way she seemed to understand him. Even when he stumbled over words, he felt drawn to her, though he tried to ignore it. A few days later, disaster struck during a diplomatic meeting on the ship. Alien delegates from a neighboring empire attempted an attack, hoping to kidnap Lyra and gain advantage in interstellar negotiations. Chaos erupted in the chamber, alarms blaring and guards shouting. Evan, who had only meant to observe, found himself running toward the princess. Without thinking, he threw himself between her and the incoming danger. One of the attackers swung a strange weapon, and Evan took the blow to his shoulder, falling to the ground. Pain shot through his body, but he did not move away from her. Lyra's eyes widened. She had seen humans fight before, but she had never seen one act with such courage, protecting her without hesitation. "Evan!" she called, fear and awe mixing in her voice. "I've got you, princess!" he shouted, gritting his teeth against the pain. He helped her to a safe corner while the guards finally subdued the attackers. When the danger passed, Lyra looked at him closely. She saw blood on his uniform, sweat on his face, and yet his eyes held determination, not fear. You protected me without asking why," she whispered. I couldn't just watch," Evan said, his voice weak but steady. "You're the princess. You deserve safety." Lyra reached out and touched his arm gently. "You are unlike any human I have met. Your bravery, your honesty, it is rare. You are the one I have been searching for, though I did not know it." Evan felt his chest tighten. He wanted to say something, to explain his fears, to remind her that he could never be part of her world. But her eyes, full of warmth and trust, held him silent. The next day, Lyra called him to her personal garden aboard the ship. The garden was quiet, filled with alien flowers that glowed softly in the dim light. Water ran along channels carved into the stone floor, making a soft, calming sound. Lyra stood in the middle, waiting for him. "You have been avoiding me," she said softly. "Why?" "I am not avoiding you, princess," Evan said carefully. I cannot be the person you want me to be. I am not noble. I am not worthy of your world. I am just a human who does his work. Lyra shook her head. Evan, nobility is not measured by birth or rank. Nobility is measured by actions, by heart, by courage. You have all these things. That is why I cannot ignore you. Evan sighed. I cannot marry you. Princess, I tried to explain before. I cannot be part of your life in that way. Lyra smiled again, softly, but there was a strength behind it. I am not asking you to marry me yet. I am asking you to see that your fears do not define you. You are capable of more than you think. He looked at her, confused and frustrated. I do not want to hurt you, Princess. I do not want to cause trouble for your people. I only want to do my job and return home safely someday. Lyra took a step closer. Evan, look at me. I have responsibilities no human can imagine. I must protect my people, make alliances, and face dangers you cannot see. And yet, when I look at you, I see someone who is brave, honest, and true. You are not just a human, you are someone who stands for what is right, even when it is difficult. That is why I choose you. Evan's heart raced. He could not believe what she was saying. Choose me? Princess? I cannot. Shh, she said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Do not speak, just listen. You may not see it yet, but one day you will. You have a strength inside you that no one else has, and I want you to see it too. For the first time, Evan felt something he had never felt before. Hope. Not hope for power, not hope for reward, but hope that maybe he could rise to the level she saw in him. Maybe he could be more than he thought. Days turned into weeks. Lyra continued to seek him out. Sometimes she asked him about technical matters aboard the ship. Sometimes she asked him about humans. And sometimes she simply watched him silently. Studying his actions and his reactions, the crew began to notice. Whispered conversations filled the corridors. She is obsessed with that human, one officer said. Do you think he even knows what he has started? Evan ignored them. He was too busy trying to understand Lyra's intentions. And at the same time, he could not ignore the growing feeling in his chest. He cared for her more than he thought he would. One evening, he found her on the observation deck, staring at the stars. She turned when he approached. You work too hard, she said softly. You are always moving, always thinking. I try to, he said, smiling faintly. But there is always something to do. The ship does not wait for anyone. And neither does life, Lyra said. You have a choice, Evan. You can keep hiding behind your work, or you can see what you are capable of. The choice is yours. He looked at her, unsure what to say. Her words were both comforting and terrifying. He wanted to trust her, but fear held him back. I do not know if I can, he said finally. You can, she replied simply. And I will wait until you see it. I will not force you, but I cannot stop myself from choosing you. I will not ignore what I see in you. Evan swallowed hard. He realized something important. Lyra was not just a princess. She was someone who saw the truth in others, even when they could not see it themselves. And she had already chosen him, even if he had refused. That night, as he lay in his small cabin, Evan stared at the ceiling. He could not stop thinking about her words, her smile, and the quiet strength she showed in everything she did. He had refused her once, and yet she had not given up. She had not left him to his fears. For the first time, he understood that sometimes the universe did not wait for permission. Sometimes, courage and choice came from the heart, not from plans or rank, and sometimes, refusing the impossible only made it grow closer. Evan closed his eyes and made a silent promise. He did not yet know how he would face the future. He did not yet know if he could ever be worthy of Princess Lyra, but he knew one thing. He could not turn away, no matter how much he wanted to. She had already chosen him, and now he would have to find the courage to meet her choice. And somewhere in the quiet glow of the ship, Lyra smiled, knowing that the first step had been taken. The human was beginning to understand, slowly, the truth she had always seen. The ship was quiet that morning, the soft hum of its engines filling the halls. Evan walked carefully, his thoughts tangled with everything Princess Lyra had said and done. She had chosen him, even though he had refused. Her words echoed in his mind. You are capable of more than you think. He did not know how to face her. Part of him wanted to hide, to keep working on the ship and pretend none of this had happened. Another part of him, a part he could not control, wanted to understand why she had chosen him. Why a princess, powerful and noble, would see him, the simple human technician, and care so deeply. When he reached the observation deck, he saw her already there. She stood at the edge, looking out at the stars, her silver hair glowing softly in the light. When she noticed him, she smiled, the same gentle smile that had haunted his thoughts for days. Evan, she said, her voice soft but steady. Come here. He stepped closer, unsure what to say. Princess, I do not understand. Understand what? She asked, turning to face him. Her eyes were calm but intense, filled with a depth that made him feel both small and seen at the same time. Why you care about me? He admitted. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. I am not noble, I am not strong, and I cannot marry you. I am just a human. I do not belong in your world. Lyra shook her head gently. You do not see it yet. But you belong everywhere your heart leads you. Nobility is not measured by blood or title. It is measured by courage, honesty, and care. You have all these qualities naturally. Evan looked at her, feeling a mix of fear and awe. I do not feel strong. I am afraid. Every time I try to do the right thing, I worry it is not enough. I could fail you. Or worse, I could bring harm to you or your people. Lyra stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on his arm. Fear does not make you weak, Evan. It makes you human. And being human does not mean being powerless. It means having a heart, and that heart can do more than you imagine. You have already shown me courage, by protecting me without hesitation. That is more than many born in my world could ever do. Evan's chest tightened. He had never heard anyone speak to him like this before. His life had been ordinary, predictable, and quiet. Yet here was a princess, an alien from a world he barely understood, telling him he was more than ordinary. He wanted to speak, to say something clever, something worthy of her praise, but words failed him. Evan, Lyra said softly, sensing his struggle. I do not choose lightly. I have been trained to think of alliances, of power, of politics, and yet, when I see you, I see someone honest, true, and brave. You do not hide behind words or appearances. You face life as it is. That is why I choose you. After 50, would I talk enough? After 50, NBATA, and very talk enough, and very tough, and mining, and very tough enough, and very tough enough. I cannot, he said again, though his voice trembled. I cannot be what you want me to be. I am not worthy of your choice. Her smile deepened, gentle yet determined. You do not have to be worthy by the standards of my world. You only have to be yourself. That is enough. For a long moment, they stood in silence, the stars outside twinkling faintly like distant eyes watching them. Evan could feel something shifting inside him. He had always been cautious, careful, afraid of taking risks. But now, faced with her calm confidence, he felt a spark of something new possibility. Princess, if I agree to stay close to you, I do not know what will happen, he said finally. I do not know if I can live up to what you expect. You will not be alone, Lyra said. I will not ask you to be alone. And I will not let others decide your worth for you. You have already done more than most could. And you have only begun to see your own strength. Evan swallowed hard. He wanted to argue, to retreat into the safety of his work. But he could not. He wanted to understand her, to learn why she saw something in him he had never seen in himself. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "Why not someone from your world? Someone trained in politics, combat, or diplomacy?" "Because I have seen many who were trained, many who were skilled," she said. "And yet, they were afraid to be honest, afraid to be themselves. You, Evan, face life without hiding. You speak truth, even when it is hard. You act when it matters. That is something rare. That is why I choose you." "Kay, did this tell me is lying?" Her words struck him deeply. He had never considered that his simple honesty and courage could be enough. He had always believed that greatness came from skill, training, or status. But here was Lyra, telling him that his heart, his choices, and his actions were what mattered most. I do not know what to say," he admitted, feeling vulnerable. "I never imagined anyone would see me this way." "Then do not speak," she said, smiling softly. "Just listen. One day, you will understand what I see. For now, let that be enough." Days passed, and Evan found himself drawn to her more and more. Lyra continued to seek him out, sometimes asking about his work on the ship, sometimes asking about humans, and sometimes simply watching him quietly. Her presence was comforting and unnerving at the same time. One afternoon, they walked together through the ship's garden. Alien flowers glowed faintly, and a soft breeze carried a scent that was almost like music. Evan noticed how she moved, graceful and calm, yet strong and purposeful. "You seem comfortable here," he said, trying to make conversation. "I am," she replied. "But I am always aware of my duties. I must think of my people, of alliances, of threats. And yet, when I am with you, I can forget all that for a moment." Evan looked at her, feeling his heart tighten. He had never experienced this feeling before, an intense mix of fear, admiration, and longing. "Princess, I am not used to this. I do not know how to respond." "You do not have to respond with words," she said. "Your actions already speak. The truth you show every day is more powerful than any words. That is why I choose you." He stopped walking and looked at her seriously. "Lyra, I am afraid. Afraid that I will fail you. Afraid that I cannot protect you. Afraid that I am not enough for you, or your world." She stepped closer, her eyes meeting his with a quiet intensity. "Fear is not weakness, Evan. It is proof that you care. And caring, truly caring, is more important than skill or power. You already protect me by being yourself, by being honest and brave. That is all that matters." Evan felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. He had spent his life believing he was ordinary, powerless, and small, and yet here was someone telling him he was extraordinary simply because he had a heart and the courage to act. I want to believe you," he said softly. "But it is hard. I am not like you. I cannot see the world the way you do." "You do not need to," she said gently. "I see it enough for both of us. And I will help you see it for yourself, when you are ready. That is why I will wait. I do not expect you to understand everything now. I only ask that you trust me." Evan nodded slowly. He did not fully understand yet, but he could feel a sense of calm spreading through him. He realized that Lyra was not just powerful. She was patient, wise, and kind. And more importantly, she believed in him, even when he could not believe in himself. That night, as he lay in his cabin, Evan thought about everything Lyra had said. He realized that his fear, his doubts, and his ordinary life did not define him. What mattered was his courage, his honesty, and his willingness to face the unknown. And for the first time, he felt that maybe, just maybe, he could rise to the level she saw in him. He closed his eyes and made a silent promise to himself. He would not run from her, from the challenge, or from the unknown. He would try to be the person she believed he could be. And one day, He would understand the truth behind her smile, the same gentle, determined smile that had changed his life forever. Somewhere in the quiet of the ship, Lyra watched the stars again, knowing that the human was beginning to see the truth she had always known. He was stronger than he realized, and their journey together was only just beginning.